Hi, this is the Price Action Analyst. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm just gonna do a video tonight talking about the market. So I'll start with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin I did a video recently on, and I did a couple of videos and I was a bit worried about this. Eventually it started to look bullish to me, and then price broke out. I did another video and said, okay, here's the breakout, and have a projection to 12,000-ish. So expect it to get to at least 12,600. So that's the projection, and also between those two peaks there, if it does manage to push further, it's it's almost certainly going to see some sort of weakness around or before that $14,000 level, because you've got a previous high there. But I think it's going to get up there. I think it's going to test, and as long as it's, when it retraces there, as long as the strength is, looks very strong and the retracement looks weak, then I think there's every possibility that it pushes through this 14,000 level and starts making its way towards all-time highs. So, I mean, that's good, I guess. Bitcoin is very strong. You've got a volume spike there, which is good. So if I was to hazard a guess as to what's going on here, I think, go look at, if you haven't seen them, go look at the gold and silver chart prices. So the dollar is losing its value, and it's losing its value quickly. And so, there's probably a fundamental aspect to that when you throw 10 trillion at the economy as a, in quotes, stimulus, because you just shut it down for a series of months. But also there's this is also probably a flight to safety. So you're seeing the institutions and people move into things that are going to hold value. So the fact that Bitcoin's going up now with, as gold and silver are going up, I want to use him as the primary example, but it's evidence that people like Peter Schiff are wrong. And I'm a big fan of Peter Schiff. I agree with him on most things. I think he's dead wrong when it comes to Bitcoin. I think he would be doing himself a big favor to go and read I don't have the title of the book on me, but find a semi-technical book that's got a little bit of the mathematical equations in it and sort of discusses in depth the problems that the cryptography behind Bitcoin solved. I think he's totally missed the train on the blockchain. He's missed the boat on the blockchain train, if that makes sense. Anyways, that doesn't matter. You could basically apply what he's saying to gold and silver to Bitcoin. You can see it in the price. So anyways, that's good. The downside of that is the way I approach the crypto markets is I look at everything in terms of Bitcoin, which means basically everything I look at the moment is falling dramatically in price, which is okay, because eventually this will slow down, and those coins will be at good entry prices. And so if you're a subscriber to my service, you get nightly alerts to coins that are at ideal entries with buy recommendations. So I'm just going to look at I'll give you an example of coins that have fallen. So, I mean, a lot of them have fallen a lot more than this, but this was ZIL that I thought was, on the cusp of a breakout here. And remember, this is in relation to Bitcoin, so Bitcoin's shooting up. It's come away from support resistance there, and it's moving down to this support level. And so anywhere in here that it shows buying pressure, as Bitcoin starts to slow down, that'll be an entry. And, it's, if you, I'm not saying that I recommended people getting out here, but if you saw that series of wicks here and you got out at, 2.8, and now you're buying back in at, 1.2, 1.4, you're increasing the returns that you're going to make over time, assuming that ZIL, eventually breaks out of this downtrend, and I think it will. ZIL is in my model portfolio, so worst case scenario, it comes back and tests that support level. But as soon as the buying becomes bigger than the selling around these levels is where we're going to step in. So that's an example of what most things look like over the last couple of days, and that's the selling generally is a lot more pronounced than that. When I say selling, I'm talking about the decrease in price relative to Bitcoin. So, there's very few coins on the opposite side of the spectrum. No, that's not a good example. So this is Elrond. This made a retrace, pushed up here, had a mini consolidation and broke out of that. And then it's forming a wick here relative to Bitcoin. I don't expect the Bitcoin pressure to last that long. And given the strength here, if you can catch price retracing back to, it's currently at 220. If you can get it, around the 190 level, and even if it gets back to 176, I think that's a chance to enter a very strong coin. So, this temporary, well, it's not, I don't want to say temporary, but the very strong rise in Bitcoin, the initial strong move's probably very temporary, and then once that kind of subsides a bit, you'll probably see some renewed strength here. So, if you can get in around these areas, that's probably a good place to buy. And it also pays to just, the whole point of this operation long term is to find things that are appreciating to Bitcoin. But in this case where Bitcoin's going up, this coin is still going up relative to the US dollar. So, if you can get a bit of a retrace, even though it's a retrace on the Bitcoin, relative to Bitcoin price, when that does get there on the previous chart, if you buy it at that level, it's sure to be appreciating after that relative to the US dollar. So I'm still happy to use Bitcoin as a measure. It just kind of makes everything look weak when Bitcoin's running as hard as it is at the moment. Yeah, that's kind of all I've got to say tonight. The fact that I'm looking at everything relative to the Bitcoin price just basically means that, apart from a couple of exceptions, that we're just waiting for stuff to show strength. And I think the benefit of that is that when it does, it'll be at lower prices. Just give everyone else another example. So VeChain I sold around the 151 level, and it pushed away from me a little bit, but it's back below that now. So, it's what I said. or have said in previous videos, you know, price rarely leaves untested air. So, you know, that is the last bit of substantial air. So, you know, and you've got the support and resistance lines here, the brown lines. So, you know, that's very weak. So it's likely to continue. And then, you know, we just keep an eye out around this area for some buying support. And if we do manage to get in here, you know, granted this was a little bit early, but if we can get back in here, then we're ahead, right? Because we're buying it lower than we sell it. And this is of course on the assumption that VeChain eventually continues to appreciate relative to Bitcoin, which I'm sure it will. It's just this is what you're seeing here is the pump in Bitcoin. So there's nothing really wrong with that. And again, if we have a look at this in terms of US dollar, you know, that's the interesting thing is it is still going down in relative to US dollar. So, you know, you are getting a genuine sell-off here. So, you know, I'm just, from a principled point of view, I'm using Bitcoin as the gauge. And so, you know, if we get buying support down here and we enter on that buying support and price moves up relative to Bitcoin, you know, it's almost a guarantee that you're appreciating relative to that. And remember, all the indications are from the Bitcoin and the silver and the gold price action is that this US dollar it's a bucket with a hole in it, and the hole is getting bigger. So, you know, I think not only are you an early adopter if you're getting into cryptocurrency now, but you're an early adopter if you start to move away from measuring things in terms of the US dollar. You know, the more I listen to people on YouTube and they're mainstream commentators like Ray Dalio. I don't know if people, I mean, Ray Dalio is a famous fund manager. Peter Schiff, there's a lot of them. Jim Rogers, Robert Kiyosaki. You know, these are mainstream guys that are still allowed to be on YouTube. They're all talking about a dollar crisis and a currency reset, right? So, you know, if you're starting to measure things relative to like stores of wealth, like gold and silver and Bitcoin and that, I think you're early on in the piece of sort of moving away from measuring stuff in the US dollar. I shouldn't tell people that's going to happen right away, but it just, you know, another example is like house prices, right? House prices are going up in US dollars, but in relative to gold, they're going down. So, you know, if you see gold as a store of value, and which is by definition a stable measuring stick, you know, house prices are going down. So the flip side of that is if we're finding cryptocurrencies that are going up relative to Bitcoin, it's kind of like finding cryptocurrencies that are going up relative to gold, kind of, but it's the same principle behind that. So anyways, I just wanted to talk about that this evening. There's not much to do. Hopefully you're holding Bitcoin and Ethereum. I know Ethereum's come off a little bit to Bitcoin, but you know, then at least part of your portfolio is taking advantage of this rise while everything else is having a breather. And that is, you know, that's the theoretical benefit of diversification. And you know, if diversification works unless everything's going down. And, you know, that doesn't happen very often. You know, at the moment where Bitcoin's going up and some of your other coins are taking a breather, you know, if you have a diversified, it doesn't have to be hugely diversified, but it does help you weather this sort of stuff. But I still, you know, Ethereum looks very strong here. You know, I've talked about the breakout. You can call that inside resistance. It's pumped right out of that. And so expect a retest kind of here. You know, as soon as, you know, if it comes down here and starts putting in buying pressure or wicks, that's a good opportunity to buy more Ethereum. So we might be close to an entry point, because this is support and that's a breakout. And so here's your retest, and getting long off the retest, my projection would be the next resistance level, which is call it 04. So we're at 029. I think we might get down to about, I don't know how far we'll get down, but hopefully we see some buying pressure around 2.8. And if we do, I would to my subscribers, they would get an alert to buy. And then the expectation is that Ethereum is going to move up to the resistance level, because it's been a long time in between the support and resistance. It's now broken out, and so you can expect it to move up to this resistance level. So Ethereum looks good. And again, it's in line with the story that I just told you about Bitcoin, right? Like, I think Ethereum is the second cryptocurrency to Bitcoin, and there's a lot of apps that are being derived off the back of that. So, you know, it has a usability to it. I don't know, you know, I'm not an expert about the fundamentals, but you're seeing the buying activity in it, right? And it's been appreciating relative to Bitcoin for a while. Like, it's only been, Bitcoin's been ramping up. That whole time that Bitcoin was going up, Ethereum was going up too, right? So Ethereum was following it for up until the last day. So Ethereum is very strong. Anyways, I'll wrap it up there. I've just kind of had some thoughts about what's happening in the crypto market and wanted to share them, as opposed to specific analysis of coins. So hopefully that's helpful. Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Any comments or requests are welcome. If you're interested in getting the nightly alerts and weekly research that I do, then have a look at subscribing to my service. Otherwise, thanks for supporting the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.